Hello there.
Welcome to the fifth, yes, you heard me, the fifth special episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
And
Today-
man, oh man, am I excited for this episode, because as a reward for winning the Star Wars in a Galaxy trivia contest Knowledge Awakens, I got to pick the special episode that we are going to record today and put out. This would be Friday the 23rd, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's today when you're listening to this, probably. And I decided to talk about, because George Lucas released episodes 4, 5, and 6 before 1, 2, 3, because in charge of planning Yoda was, the ways in which to watch Star Wars for the first time have been many varied and many focused in a lot of stuff. And so Jacob and I have put together a comprehensive viewing order spreadsheet that we will link to in the description of this podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
That we've made, consisting of a bunch of the viewing orders. There's this thing called playlists that we'll get to later. Some of the viewing orders that we will talk about in this episode. There are 4 tabs: the conventional orders, which we'll talk about first, the StarWars.com playlist, which I compiled a while ago, and they were just kind of cool, Star Wars direct viewing orders, which we'll talk about later, and then other orders, which we'll also talk about later. But first, before we get to any crazy orders, what do you say, Jacob, that we start talking about the more conventional viewing orders? What do you say?
Sure.
So, for example, the order that most audiences above the age of 40 saw Star Wars in: 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, Rogue One, 8, Solo, 9.
Yes, the release order.
The release order. And some of these orders will include Rogue One and Solo, some of them won't, so we'll notify you when they do.
Yep.
So what do you think are the pros and the cons of this order?
So, I am very partial to the release order myself. It's how I saw Star Wars. It's how my dad, who introduced me to Star Wars, it's how he saw Star Wars as well. And I like it because not only do you kind of get to see the evolution of Star Wars in like the special effects and the filmmaking techniques of the time, you also kind of get the full experience. Assuming you don't know anything going into it, you get the full experience of all the spoilers, and I feel like it kind of gives you the best intended. It gives you like the best experience of the prequels, which is kind of figuring out how the Jedi got from this huge organization down to just a couple people, or what happened to the Republic, and kind of answering the questions posed.
I agree with you about the release order stuff. I think, it's the order that I saw Star Wars for the first time, of course, because, I got the lucky chance to see 5 of these Star Wars movies in theaters, everything from 7 to 9, including the spin-offs. It is a bunch of cool stuff. I think, as we'll discuss later when we're getting to the Machete Order, one of the biggest problems with this is the special edition of Hayden Christensen at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
When you know nothing about who this guy is. You have Obi-Wan, you have Yoda, and you have Hayden Christensen, and it makes it so confusing. And so that's the one little issue of this. And plus, story-wise and weird significance-wise, like, we're gonna get to orders that have strange significances to them, that I love. So, Jacob, do you have anything else you want to say about release order?
No, I think it's in my opinion, it's the best order. I'm very preferential to it. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it.
I think it's a good order. I think it's a solid, good all-around order. Let's cover the second order on our conventional orders list, which is the chronological order. Now, I will say, one of the pros going into this does not have many pros. This order does not have many pros to it. One of the pros it does have is that George Lucas wants you to watch Star Wars in this way.
So it's kind of like George Lucas's intended
I mean, not with Solo and Rogue One and the sequel trilogy, but if you had to watch them any place, George Lucas, I think, would recommend, watch them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, how they were meant to be viewed.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Now, shed light on what I think is probably one of the worst things about this order. It's the "No, I am your father" thing.
Yeah, that part kind of... It is lost.
If you view episode 3 before episode 5, "No, I am your father" is kind of a no-duh thing.
Yeah.
It's not a twist anymore, because you see Anakin's turn, and you see Luke and Leia being born. Also, it ruins the twist of Leia
is
Luke's
sister. Yeah.
Yeah. It ruins that, and so that's not great in itself. But yeah. Anything else to say about chronological order, or should we just go on to...
Not really. I think we can go on to, what are we doing next? The Machete Order, maybe?
Machete Order. Let's give a little background for this.
Probably the craziest
on November 11th, 2011, a software developer named Rod Hilton introduced the Machete Order to Star Wars. Now, this is before the sequel trilogy, before Rogue One, and we have a slightly altered list because of something it omits. But Machete Order is 45236. It's 5 movies, 45236. That's the traditional...
45236.
That's the traditional Machete Order. Rod Hilton recommends cutting out episode 1 because he says that in that post, I was just reading it actually, basically that everything that you have in episode 1, it doesn't actually matter.
Whoa.
Believe it or not. That he's basically like, all the stuff you need to know about Anakin, about his training with Obi-Wan, about Dooku, about all of that is all revealed in 2 instead of 1. It's not that he dislikes episode 1, it's that he doesn't think it's necessary.
That's an interesting take. I feel like you lose some stuff, but overall I think that's that actually, like, it actually kind of, that idea grew on me.
It's an interesting idea. We have episode 1 in there, but really the idea is to view episodes 1, 2, 3, the prequel trilogy, as a flashback to 5 once we realize the significance of Anakin.
So kind of like an ancillary thing, not like... Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So what do you think of this order?
I think it's cool. I like the creativity of it, because I think this was, if I'm not mistaken, this was one of the first times that someone came up with, like, an alternate order.
I'm 99% sure you're right on that one, yeah.
So, I mean, we have to give it marks for that, and overall it makes pretty good sense. So, yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of it overall. I think I kind of watched it one time, so in that order, so I think it's a pretty solid order. I think that it's hard to really tell what the true effectiveness is unless you, like, are totally new and haven't seen Star Wars ever before. But overall, yeah, this one's I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. I don't think I'd ever watch it in that order, but it's not terrible. What we have next, that's our first tab on this spreadsheet. The second tab that we have, that we're not going to cover in this episode, but that is on this spreadsheet, is a while ago. StarWars.com does this thing called the playlist, where it takes a character or a topic, Darth Maul, Jabba the Hutt, holocrons, and puts together a playlist of movies, TV, and sometimes even books and comics that you should read or watch to get the full experience of that. I actually updated them with a bunch of other stuff because they all came out pretty much like after 7, but before anything else. So I updated it with things like Episode 9 and 8 and Fallen Order and Mandalorian and all of that kind of stuff. And Rebel Season 4 and Clone Wars Season 7. And yeah, so that's pretty cool. But let's get to... there's this website called Star Wars Direct. And for this episode, Jacob and I decided to pick of the ones we found, 3 viewing orders that we thought really popped out to us. And Jacob, I think yours are all in the Star Wars Direct one, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And I think I have one in there too. So I think, Jacob, you want to start with one of yours?
Yeah, all right. I'll start with the Mandalorian order, which you start with episode 2, the Attack of the Clones, and then you go through various you go through all the different Mandalorian arcs of the Clone Wars in season 2, 4, 5, and 7. I can't remember the names of all the arcs, but
I think I can help you with
Satine and all that stuff.
I think I can help you out with some of them. It's 2 is the Mandalore plot and all the stuff with the first Pre-Vizsla stuff. 4 is I think A Friend in Need, which is the one on Karlak. 5 is the Lawless and the stuff where Satine dies, and then 7 is Siege of Mandalore. I think. Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah. And then you go into Star Wars Rebels. There's all the Mandalorian plots from Star Wars Rebels. Sabine with the Darksaber, Sabine rescuing her dad, and other stuff. Then episode 5, then episode 6, then the Mandalorian season 1. I like this because it takes a lot of media that isn't necessarily focused on Mandalorians specifically, aside from the Mandalorian, and kind of makes it into an interesting, kind of an interesting story. So that's why I like it. I just think the idea of that is pretty cool. It is really cool. I'd say this order, I think, needs a little bit of an amended name, though. I think it should be called, like, the Rise and Fall of the Mandalorians, because that's what you see in here, because, in the Clone Wars, you see the Mandalorians at their prime. Rebels, you see them not in their prime, being basically enslaved by the Empire. And then you see them rising back up in Rebels, but then you see them falling back down again in Season 1 of The Mandalorian, which is really cool. I love that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Go ahead with your next order.
Alright. For my next order, I have the Alt Machete Order. So, basically, the Alt Machete Order is Rogue One, then Rogue One, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. I like that order also. It's fun, yeah. Yeah.
It starts with Rogue One, which is the weirdest thing of all of them. What do you think Rogue One adds to, the start of the universe? Because there's the one problem I see with this one, which is that Rogue One depicts Vader at the very end of this as this unstoppable badass, and then you see him in Episode 4 against Obi-Wan, and he's just he's reduced to this guy who swings his lightsaber a couple times like it's some weird
if I'm gonna be really honest, that complaint seems a bit airheaded to me, given that you're basically just complaining about the filmmaking techniques of the time, and I think you kind of have to suspend disbelief in order to enjoy the story. So personally, that is that's why it doesn't bug me. But I think that's valid. But yeah, I just like this order because
that's the only thing. That's literally the only thing.
It is kind of. It presents a different take on it. I think Rogue One I like Rogue One at the beginning because it introduces it as a more kind of in a more gritty kind of universe, which honestly segues pretty well into it segues really well into the original movies with their kind of rusty aesthetic. So that I do appreciate the alt machete for that.
I can appreciate that. Yeah. What's your final order on this?
Final order is going to be the Ahsoka Tano order. I saw this one, I was immediately like, ooh, this seems pretty cool. It has a lot of Star Wars Rebels and Clone Wars in it, because that's all there is really. Yeah.
It's exclusively all of them. Yeah. Though that could change with season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Man. Fingers crossed. That would be awesome.
I think I've heard some stuff, and I think we might be getting the trailer tomorrow.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, here's hoping.
Tomorrow, by the way, is August 17th, so that would have been like 5 days ago or something like that. So
I love the Ahsoka Tano order because Ahsoka Tano is one of my favorite characters. She is she's pretty much a fan favorite character, and I think it's cool because she really kind of had a redemption arc of sorts, where in the beginning, after the Clone Wars movie, she was honestly she was a not very well liked character. People weren't a fan of her, but then eventually, Dave Filoni kind of held his ground and kept working on Ahsoka, and they made her a really good character, a very like interesting, well developed, like strong, awesome, badass character, and I love that. I love Ahsoka Tano in the Clone Wars, and I love Ahsoka Tano in Rebels too. I like seeing kind of the difference, but I like seeing the way she kind of grows by kind of comparing the two shows. So yeah, I love the Ahsoka.
I think this is our only exclusive animated viewing order on this list.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, I'd say. My order off of the Star Wars Direct list, by the way, go check them out. They're really cool. We'll leave their link, of course. Actually, we won't leave it in the description. It'll be on our spreadsheet, which will contain pretty much everything, honestly. But my order from this is the Anakin Skywalker order. It's interesting. It splits up movies too, which is weird. I think it's Rogue One, then 4, 5, 6 to Luke's talk with Yoda, then 4, 5, 6 to Luke's talk with Yoda, 1 to Clone Wars movie, Clone Wars 119, 520, 315, 7, 9, and those are all. I think that's like the Mortis arc in there, and the Lawless. No, there's the Jedi Who Knew Too Much in there, and Old Friends Not Forgotten. 3, and then Fire Across the Galaxy from Rebels, Siege of Lothal from Rebels, Shroud of Darkness from Rebels, Twilight Apprentice from Rebels, and then from Yoda's talk with Luke to the end of 6. And it really does show the rise and fall and rise again of Anakin Skywalker as a person. It's interesting because it presents Vader as this like scary, like almost demon in a mask in Rogue One, and then it shows you through 5, 6, 1, 2, 5, 6, 1, and 2 the humanity of Vader, and then you see, and then once you've kind of gotten the humanity of Vader, you get to see, well, how did he go from this Jedi who was one of the most heroic people in the galaxy to this evil person? And you see that in Rebels near the end that there's still some good left in him, and you see that mirrored in 6. This is a non-sequel order, just because the sequels don't include Vader in that respect. But it's really interesting to see it. I think this would be a cool order to check out. It'd take a while, but it would be a cool order to check out. Okay, and so that was my first order, and then now I have 2 more orders. The first order I'm going to talk about is a spin-off order.
Okay.
And this is under the Other Orders tab, which is the 4th tab. this one I saw on Reddit, and I thought this was genius. It's called the Lockwood Order. It's based off of the Emily Bronte novel Wuthering Heights, and it shows parallels between Wuthering Heights and the Star Wars universe. This order is gutsy because it starts with The Force Awakens.
Wow, that is pretty gutsy, I'm not gonna lie.
So it basically frames, and I know you're gonna love this, Jacob, but it basically frames the sequel trilogy as the main trilogy in this order. With the original and prequel trilogy serving as backstory for the sequel trilogy order, just like the prequels did in the Machete Order. And so what it does, so here's the order: 7, original trilogy; 8, prequel trilogy; 9. Or 7, 4, 5, 6, 8, 1, 2, 3, 9. The reason why this order works is that, in episode 7, we hear a lot about the glory days, We hear a lot about the days where Luke and Leia and Han were fighting this really evil guy named Vader. And then you get to see what that was like and why Rey, Finn, and Poe are looking up to these people in episodes 4, 5, and 6. Then you get to episode 8, and Luke mentions a guy called Darth Sidious. We also see... you see Darth Sidious, and you also hear a little bit about the Jedi at the height of their powers, and you also hear a little bit more about Anakin's fall to the dark side. So you see all of that afterwards in 1, 2, 3, and then 9, of course, completes the circle. In it, and and it's interesting because in this order they talk about Reylo, Ben, and Rey as the opposite of Anakin and Padme. When Force healing is introduced in Rise of Skywalker, it's basically, you see it as this tragic foil to what you just saw in the prequels. Because of, Anakin couldn't save his loved one through death, saved his loved one from death, because he approached it from the dark side. But Ben approaches it from the light, and that's how he does it.
That makes sense.
It's an interesting
that's an interesting idea.
I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure the practicality of it. I'm not sure how it would work, but I think it could work. What are your thoughts on the Lockwood Order?
I think it's very bold, but I kind of like it for that. It feels very fresh, kind of thinking about it. I like it because I feel like so many of the orders start with the prequels of the originals. I don't know. I just think it's an interesting take. I feel like people don't usually go there.
I do like how seamlessly incorporates the sequel trilogy, which not a lot of orders do. And then finally, for my third order, I have an order that I came up with, which is called the It's Like Poetry Order.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
Every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one. Hopefully it'll work.
Okay, let's hear this.
So basically, the idea with this order is basically that the prequel and the sequel and the original trilogies all tell various versions of the same story. They're like poetry. They rhyme.
Yeah.
And so in this order, you get to contrast these orders with each other. So you start in episode 4, you see Luke, you see him going on this big journey, and you got that very, he wants to be a Jedi like his father. He trains under Obi-Wan Kenobi. Then you go to episode 1, you see what his father was like before he became a Jedi. You see him having the same aspirations as Luke. You also see Obi-Wan, but younger. And you wonder what caused Obi-Wan to get in this grizzled state. You kind of know from the exposition in 4, but you really wonder what. And then you get the big twist, no, I am your father. And that sets a new view on things. But before you have too much time to think about that, you go to 7, and you see Luke and Anakin's journey repeating itself for a third time with the journey of Rey in 7. What also happens in 7? Han Solo dies. So, with that, you actually then jump to Solo, which gives Han a little bit of a memorial for himself that he never got in 8 by showing you a very similar kind of sort of hero's journey to Luke, Anakin, and Rey. Then you go to Rogue One, and you see how they you get exposition for and the sort of hero's journey for Jin. You also see Vader in his prime, at which point you remember, oh wait, Vader is Anakin. And so you go to 2, you see Anakin slipping faster. Then you go to 8 and 9, where you see the completion of Kylo Ren and Ben Solo's journey, and you're wondering, and then you get your 2 final movies, which I called the 2 final pieces of the puzzle. 6, which shows how Vader redeemed himself and how the Empire fell, and then 3 at the very end to show how Anakin became Vader that we saw in 4 in the first place. It's like poetry, they rhyme.
That's a very interesting order. I never really thought about it that way. That's pretty cool.
It is my favorite order. I mean, a little biased because I've been working on this one for a while now, but it's an interesting order that I've been thinking about for a while, and I think it's really...
It's cool. It's cool.
It establishes a lot of the parallels that we see in the original, and with The Force Awakens, I gotta say, one of the things I love about this order so much is that The Force Awakens, I think, would feel a little less like a straight ripoff of New Hope in that way, because it's just another incarnation of the hero's journey that we already saw in 4 and 1 already.
Yeah.
And we'll see it again, and that's another name for this order. Another name, other than the It's Like Poetry order, it's the hero's journey order. It's the order of a hero going on a great journey, sometimes succeeding, sometimes failing. Jin in Rogue One, Han in Solo. And that's what I think this order does really well. We will include the full spreadsheet and all of that in the description below. But we are not done with this episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy. No. We have our weekly. Are you ready for this, Jacob? Let's count down. 3, 2, 1.
1 quarter portion.
Yes, we do. And this week is Star Wars Opinions. Star Wars Opinions, which was used to be a special episode. But we decided to convert it into a segment. I will also give another footnote. If you guys want to see us do a more a larger and longer version of Star Wars Opinions, and a live version of that, come to Star Wars ForceFest. It is a convention that is being held online, virtually. You don't need to pay any money to access ForceFest. We will be hosting a panel at ForceFest on Sunday, August 30th at 10 a.m. PST. Jacob and I will both be there, and we will be asking the audience about their Star Wars opinions.
Yeah, should be
which is cool. Anyway, should be really fun. So, Jacob and I, for this segmented version of Star Wars Opinions, have 2 questions each, 2 Star Wars opinion questions each to ask each other.
Yeah.
Jacob, you want to go first?
Yeah, alright. So my first question for Star Wars Opinions is, what do you think is the best Star Wars video game?
What do I think is the best Star Wars video game? Jedi Fallen Order.
Okay, yeah, and why? Do you want to elaborate on
Jedi Fallen Order is such a cool story. It's about... It's it's really cool that in this new day and age of the Disney Star Wars era, the video games can stand as high as the TV shows and the movies and the books and the comics in terms of storytelling. Jedi Fallen Order for me, and
that is high praise indeed.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually a lot of people like the story more than I did, but I can't deny that the story is really, it's about people who've had their choices taken away from them, and then they're presented later on with choices that were taken away from them, that they were given back, and it's about what they do with them. It's about Cal and Marin and Trilla and Seer all having their lives as they knew it stripped away from them. Trilla, her master leaving her. Seer, her apprentice turning to evil. Cal, his master dying. Marin, her whole clan being wiped out. And it's about what they do with those choices. And 3 of them make good ones, and 1 of them doesn't.
Yeah.
And I love the story of Fallen Order. What about you?
Oh man, I did not expect to get such a deep answer, so I didn't really think about this because I didn't realize I had to answer too, but for the best storied video game, I would have to go with the Bounty Hunter game. I'm not. Is that I don't know what the official name is, but it's
Bounty Hunter. Bounty
Hunter.
Hunter.
Bounty Hunter, the one with Boba Fett, or not? Sorry, not Boba Fett. Jango Fett. Yeah, the one with Jango Fett. I think it's a really cool background story. Kind of get to see Jango Fett kind of try and become like the badass bounty hunter he was always meant to be, and I like that. I like that aspect of it.
Interesting. Okay. Here we go. My first question for you. And I teased this last week, but who is your favorite Star Wars background character?
My favorite Star Wars background character. Okay, what qualifies as a background character? Can you give
5 or less lines on screen. And a significant
5 or less lines.
And you can't do Boba Fett because he says 5 or less lines on screen, but he's a huge part of the movie.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Oof. Well, that is tricky.
Or let's say this, okay? Let's say this. Anyone you could be asked about in a trivia contest. You know what I mean?
About a trivia contest, yeah. It's hard. I'm gonna go with I can't think of a lot of names of background characters. Maybe Sleaze Bogano. I kind of like that guy.
Sleaze Bogano.
Yeah, I think actually I was looking at him on Wikipedia the other day, and he actually has one name that's different from Sleaze Bogano, but there's one entry with the last name that's different from Sleaze Bogano. So I'm wondering if there's some canon legends stuff going on. But I like him. I think he I don't know. He's just funny. You want to buy some?
I want to ask. Yeah, I was about to ask you. You want to buy some death sticks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I already previewed mine last week, but it was coming. My favorite Star Wars background character is Ochi of Bestoon.
Is that the assassin?
Yes. I never really got to talk about Ochi of Bestoon and why I love him so much. So first of all, I like to believe that your favorite background character is kind of a representation of why you love Star Wars, which is perfect for me, because he's all the stuff I love about Star Wars. First of all, he has deep links to the Sith, and I love everything Jedi and Sith in the Star Wars universe, number 1. And number 2, he's from Episode 9, and I love Episode 9. It's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. And really, what I really like about Ochi of Bestoon, well, first of all, he gets the best introduction of any character ever. He has Billy D. Williams say his name for the first time. And when Billy D. Williams says anything, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So he says, I was listening to it earlier. I was watching it earlier. We were tracing an old Sith. We were tracing an old Sith mercenary called Ochi of Bestoon. And when Billy D says something like that, you just gotta listen. You know what I mean? I love that I love it for that reason. I love him for that reason. I also like the idea that he could be. This is an idea I know I pitched to you, Jacob, but he could be. I want an Ochi of Bestoon series just to see the Final Order in its existence. Like, I want to see what they were up to. I wanted to see how and what Palpatine was pushing into the dark side for. I want to see all of that, and I want the main character to be Ochi of Bestoon.
Interesting.
So that is why I love Ochi of Bestoon so much.
Okay, that's
and
awesome.
I was disappointed. I went on Amazon. I'm like, oh, there's got to be some merch. No merch.
No Ochi of Bestoon
Ochi of
merch.
Bestoon merch.
Wow, shocking.
It's so
That is
sad.
shocking.
It's not shocking. This is another thing. Ochi of Bestoon is such a background character. We never see him alive in a present-day Star Wars movie.
Wow. Sad. Hashtag RIP Ochi of Bestoon.
Hashtag RIP Ochi. Yeah, okay, what's your second question?
My second question is, what is your favorite character that never has screen time in a movie? So, what is your favorite TV show only character? This can include The Mandalorian.
Okay. Jacob, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a caveat for this one, okay?
Okay.
Ahsoka Tano and Kanan Jarrus both appeared in Star Wars movies.
Okay.
Can you figure out how?
Ahsoka Tano. Oh, in the last, no, not the Last Jedi. Sorry, in the Rise of Skywalker.
That's also how Kanan.
Yeah, that's what I meant for both of them. Yep.
Yeah, so you can't include either of them. Favorite TV show only character. I would have to go with. Wow, this is a hard one. Wow, this is not as easy as I thought. I was gonna say Ahsoka, but then I realized my own rules sabotaged me there. Let's see. Wow, this is actually not as easy as I thought it was gonna be. This is a boring answer, but I feel like I'm not coming up with anyone else, so I'm just gonna have to say it.
Okay.
Actually, no, never mind. I have a better answer. My favorite character only in a TV show is Mother Talzin.
Mother Talzin. What do you like about Mother Talzin?
She's just so weird. Like, it's such a weird part of Star Wars. It's like, that's when the Clone Wars gets really weird. It's an army of basically magic witches fighting a bunch of robots in that episode. I love Mother Talzin. I love her, like, she has a very weird and eerie and creepy nature, and I think we should have gotten more Mother Talzin. Runner-up was going to be the guy I was going to say, which was Din Djarin, but yeah, I'm going to go with Mother Talzin, though. Mother Talzin for me.
All right.
Who's yours?
My favorite character, I would say Sabine Wren.
Okay, good choice.
I don't know. I like Sabine Wren. I like her story. I like the yeah. She's just a cool character. She's got the cool paint armor. She does bombs and stuff. She's a fierce, badass Mandalorian. Like, what's not to love?
Yeah. Okay, here's a weird question for you.
Okay.
Who is your favorite Star Wars character not to align to either the light or dark side? Now, that doesn't mean characters who aren't Force sensitive. Like, Han isn't Force sensitive, but he aligns with the light side.
Yeah, I see. Okay, my favorite. So, like, favorite kind of neutral character.
Yeah, neutral or scoundrel character.
Oof, that's kind of tricky. I don't really I don't really think about that. Shoot. Why don't you go first? I need some time to think. You tell us about your favorite.
I'm gonna go with either. No, yeah, I'm gonna go with. No, I have yeah, I'm gonna go with this one. Either Jango Fett or Embo.
Oh, Embo.
I think I'm gonna go with Embo though. Embo is my pick. Embo is my pick because he's Embo. He's voiced by Dave Filoni. He has the coolest hat in Star Wars. He's a Kyuzo, which is a really cool series. He never speaks like ever. Like he has like 6 lines throughout the entire Clone Wars series. But his actions speak way louder than his words. Embo.
Yeah. Okay. He, I never forget when he goes snowboarding on his hat.
That is awesome.
I thought it was a little corny, but you know what? It's awesome. Who doesn't want to have a snowboard hat?
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's see. Who is my favorite? Okay, this one might. I'm not sure if this might not count, but just hear me out when I say that my favorite non-light or dark side line character is Asajj Ventress, because I feel like, look, she is like indubitably dark side at first. There's no denying it, but she kind of switches. She doesn't fully switch, but she becomes like a neutral.
I mean, actually, she kind of does fully switch in Dark Disciple. That book. She actually does.
Dark Disciple, so. Maybe,
I don't think I've actually read it, but I know basically what happens in Dark Disciple, and she kind of switches over to the light actually near the end. But I actually think that's a really interesting pick, and yeah, totally, Asajj Ventress, really, really interesting pick. Yeah, I think that's really cool. Okay, I think that's gonna be it for this episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy. Next week, Genji Tartakovsky's Star Wars Clone Wars Volume 1 is where we're headed. I am interested. I'm excited. I've never watched this the full way through.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. In the meantime, I will point out, I know we already mentioned this, but ForceFest, we're doing a panel 10 a.m. PST, August 30th. Be there. It'll be fun. We're going to be talking about more Star Wars opinions, just like we did on this episode. Make sure to follow us on Anchor, Spotify, Radio Public, Breaker, Google Podcasts. Anywhere you find your podcast, we're probably there. Make sure to leave us reviews on those places. 5-star reviews, please. And yeah, what else? Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll have all that linked in the description of our videos. And until next time, may the Force be with you. Always.